Okay, so in today's video, we are talking about the key elements of an exceptional website. So over the last 14 years of designing and building websites, I've seen it all when it comes to the DIY sites. And there are certain elements that I see continuously that if they were corrected or done differently or done right, it would really transform that DIY looking site into more of a professional looking site. So in today's episode, we're really going to go over what those items are so you can go to your DIY site and make those changes and really bring it up to speed and make it look more like an exceptional website. What are really the benefits of even doing this? What are the benefits of having this exceptional high quality website? Well, for one, a better user experience. Two, what you may not realize is better results in Google. And then three, you're going to get more conversions, more leads, more sales, and more whatever your goals are for your website. The first thing that you want to do is identify the main objective you're trying to achieve with your site. So this might seem obvious, but a lot of times people really miss this. You really need to figure out what is the main call to action and have that be throughout your site. Have it in the top section of your homepage, that little hero area. Have it in the footer. Have it in the navigation as a button. So let's say it's schedule a consultation. Make sure that is in there. If it's, call us or whatever the call to action is, you need to make sure that is prominent and consistent throughout the site. A lot of people miss that one. A lot of people just throw everything on there and, it's like a shotgun approach and hope people will just do what you want them to do. But you have to tell them what to do. You have to have a call to action, and it needs to be defined and prominent on your website. I think one of the biggest opportunities is putting that call to action in your navigation as a button so it stands out. The next item is adding videos and images. And this one, again, might seem kind of obvious, but it's not always done or done correctly. So a study was done by Search Metrics that most of the top ranked web pages have at least 7 images on that page. So using images, it's a great way to break up the content. It's going to help convey the right emotions that you need to convey, and it's going to create interest and intrigue. Images also give you the ability to add additional keywords in what they call alt text and in the title of the image itself. So this will also help you with your search engine rankings. Now for video, for SEO, it's going to keep people on your site longer. So it gives Google a great signal that people are staying on your site because they're watching a video. So it's going to, give them a better signal that the content that you have is more relevant and people like it. Video is also exceptional because many people love to consume the content through video over reading. So video is another good thing to add onto your pages. Okay, the next item is high quality content. So Google is going to reward pages that are covering the topics the best and that are really adding the value for what people are searching for. You want to be sure to use your keywords in your content, but you don't want to do the keyword stuffing, right? You don't want to stuff your same keyword throughout and have it be all unnatural. It should read very naturally, and you want to use your main keyword, but what is better is to use closely related keyword phrases to your main keyword. It will show Google that you are covering this topic very well. So don't keyword stuff and use related keyword phrases instead. Another item when it comes to content is having longer content. Google will reward your pages with more content. So pages over 900 words are going to really perform better than pages under that. The more words you have, the better, like anywhere from 900 to 2,000. But keep in mind, the more words you have, you still need to think about the layout, which we'll be getting into. All of this content, you don't want a wall of content. You want to break that up into sections. So that if you're adding that much content into your pages, be ready to break it up into smaller sections, which we'll get into. Okay, the content that you do use needs to have an easy readability. So think about the content needs to be on your website more conversational types of verbiage. It's easier to read, it's easier to consume, it adds more personality. And then if you need help with this, there's a plugin you can install on your website, assuming you're using WordPress. It's called Yoast SEO, and it will grade your content's readability and then give you suggestions on that. It's going to really help your user, and then also Google knows. Google is really gotten pretty smart these days to be able to look at your site and understand what's going on with it. Still in the content is showing credibility. So Google has also stated that showing your expertise on a topic is important to them. So, and that is also true for people visiting your site. So you want to be able to show case studies, testimonials, link out to supporting content, link internally. So you want to be able to show that you are an authority on this topic. So any way you can do that, and that would be through things like case studies and testimonials and things like that. Okay, still sticking with the content would be the benefits and the language you use. So you want to write content that is about them and not about you. Right? So you want to try to explain the problem that you're solving and how you solve it without always just talking about you. You want to keep the conversation on them and their problem and how your solution helps them and that. So you also want to lead with the benefits before the features. So, obviously every business is different, but every business exists because it solves some problem. There's some benefit to your customer. What is that benefit? You want to lead with that before you start talking about the features of like, oh, we this and we that and we include this and we include that. Lead with how you help them. Lead with what are they going to get out of it. If you need help creating website content that attracts and converts your ideal audience, go to our website and download the Content That Converts Blueprint. You'll find it on our website at liquiddigital.com/resources. And I will also put a link in the show notes here. But that is a tool we created specifically for that issue. And that is to help you create content that converts. So go check that out. Okay, moving on. We're going to go into the next element, and that is page layout. So this is probably one of the bigger ones. Okay. So you want to start off by making your page scannable. Lay out the page that allows the content to be easily scannable by breaking up content into smaller sections. Use headlines in each of those sections. Use subheadlines. Incorporate an image that relates to that content and conveys the right emotion. Use bullet lists when you can. All of these items are going to help break up your content into different sections. If you go to any major website and look, they don't just have a wall of text, unless you're kind of like diving deeper into the site maybe. But almost always they have it broken up into sections, which is easily consumable, and then you can click in to learn more. Google can actually see how your page is laid out and will penalize you for a bad layout. The next thing when it comes to page layout is a thing called white space. White space is a design principle. It's the act of creating space around an item. White space not only creates harmony and balance, it also can be used to lead the reader from one element to another. It's the space that balances really everything out. A common misconception when it comes to design is that you need to make it bigger to bring more attention to it. And in fact, a lot of times you don't need to make it bigger. You just need to put more space around it. White space gives the eyes a place to rest and directs the attention to that item. So, white space, I highly recommend going through your site and seeing if you have stuff really clumped together. And if you can start breaking up that stuff, white space is your friend. That one right there is probably the biggest difference maker in my opinion. And then the next one is just as big. The next one is being consistent. Okay, so what do I mean by being consistent? Everything on your site from one page to the next needs to be consistent. Things like your header and navigation. So you should never have a different navigation from one page to the next, or the header change from one page to the next. It creates confusion. Unless you have a really outside of the box kind of rare example or like need for that, but almost always 99.9% your header and navigation should be consistent across the board from one page to the next. Also, the footer, that should be consistent as well. And a lot of times it is by default. You'd almost have to go out of your way not to make it, but it should be. The other one is colors. You should have brand colors. If you do not have brand colors, you need to have brand colors. You need to define what those colors are, and you need to stick to them. My recommendation is to have one accent color and maybe one other color that you use. Too many colors is too much. A color is to tie in your brand and also to bring attention. If you have so many colors, you have a rainbow of colors, it's just too much. It's too busy, and it's almost exhausting to your eyes to consume. So have that color, whatever it is, and if that color, let's say you have like a red, and that is your primary accent color, then that should be the color of your buttons. And consistently, all of your call to actions, your links and everything should be that color. So they know if I see that color, I know that it's gonna be an action item. The next piece is fonts and font sizes. This is the one that kills people. People want to get all fancy with the font styles and the sizes and the colors, and forget it. Pick a font style. I would no more than 2 font styles, maybe 3, I guess. But have 2 at most primary font styles. A lot of times you'll find your headings are a different style than the body content. That's great. That's really good. If not, have it all one. It doesn't matter. But keep it consistent and keep it down to I would recommend just 2 font styles. And then keep your sizes consistent. So your font styles are staying consistent. Your font sizes should be consistent. Your body content should be the same throughout. So the paragraph content should be whatever, 14 pixels, 16 pixels, whatever it is, it should stay the same. With your headings, you're gonna have different headings, H1s, H2s, H3s. These need to be consistent. If you're gonna use H2s, H2 should be whatever that is, that pixel size, it needs to be consistent throughout the page and throughout the site. The next item is like special styles. So things like if you're going to use rounded corners on your images or elements that are going to kind of be rounded, then throughout your site, it's best to keep that rounded theme where you can, opposed to having like sharp square edges in some areas and then rounded in others. Really keep that consistent. And that's another one that is kind of hard to you design a page and you make it look good, and then you go to the next page and design it and make it look good. But if you're not keeping that style, those little styles that you're not thinking about, keeping those consistent, that will really bring a lot of consistency through your site. And other things like button hover colors, right? So if you hover over a button, what color does it change or what does it do? Keeping that consistent as well. Another one is images. When I think of images and keeping images consistent, obviously don't use the same image, use the same style of image. So if your images have kind of like a washed out look or kind of a sepia tone or black and white, or maybe they all have drop shadows behind them or rounded corners or whatever that style of the image is, the quality of that image, keep it consistent. The next item is keeping consistent is the voice you use in your content. So this is where a copywriter can really come in handy, and that is keeping the way you write, the way you speak, the consistent throughout. So if you're really fun and playful on one page and then like really serious and business on the next, it really kind of changes the tone of the personality. And that kind of comes into your branding. So keeping that consistent is important. And then again, your call to action. Having the same call to action throughout your site. The next item is fast loading pages. This is really what gets a lot of people in trouble in the loading speed of their page. And this even happens outside of DIY sites, but this is really going to make a difference to Google when it comes to what's a high quality site and what isn't. So it's something I wanted to address here. One of the biggest leading causes of a slow loading page is the size of the images on that page. If you think about it, when you open up a web page, your browser has to go pull that image and render it onto your screen. So if it has to render a 5 megabyte image 5 times because there's 5 of those on your page, well, that is 25 megabytes. It's going to have to download, and that's a lot for your browser. So that's a lot that it's going to have to load. So what you want to do is you want to optimize those images before you upload them to your website. So you want to reduce the file size, and you want to compress them using a tool that I use. There's a couple different ones, but one online that's free is called tinyping.com. You know what? I have a YouTube video that shows how to do this and the tools to use. It's on our YouTube channel, and I'll also put it in the show notes. So go check that out if you need to optimize. Well, you do need to optimize your images. So go check that out. The next item, the next item to speed up your website is install a caching plugin. So assuming we're talking WordPress here, you need to install a caching plugin, and I'll explain this real quick. But basically what a caching plugin is it's going to take a snapshot of your page. So when someone else comes and views that page, it's going to load that snapshot page, opposed to having to go to the database and go do all this stuff and render the PHP and load everything. It's going to just show this snapshot page, and then every 5 to 10 hours, it's going to refresh. Or if you make a change, it'll refresh and create a new cache page. That's caching in a nutshell. I recommend using WP Rocket. I've used a few different caching plugins. This one, hands down, is the best I've used. It will do wonders for your site and speeding it up. So those are the items that I would change on your DIY website to transform it into a professional looking website. So what I'd like to do next is we have a listener question that I would like to address. And this question comes from Mr. Rager, and it's, how do you automate an email from a form? Okay, so I really like this question. This is a great question. So basically, when someone fills out a form, how do you automate a series of emails? So you need to use a tool. Then there's a bunch of them out there. One that we use is called Autopilot. We recommend it for all of our clients. I'll put a link in the description to that, so you can go check that out if you'd like. And Autopilot is great. It'll capture the contact from your email, and you can really set them up to do any drip system or any emails. It'll also do text messaging. It's a really good system, really easy to use. So I recommend Autopilot. Some other ones are ActiveCampaign, Keep. I'm trying to think of these off the top of my head. Drip. There's a bunch, but MailChimp is another one. I would recommend going and checking those out. My recommendation, though, is Autopilot. And if you would like me to answer a question that you have on a future episode, this is super easy. All you have to do is go to our Instagram and DM me your question, and I will find the best ones out there, and I will answer them on a future episode. You can find us on Instagram at Liquis Digital. And so yeah, go there and ask me some questions, and I would love to give you some feedback. So yeah, and that's going to wrap us up for the day. I hope you found this valuable. Go to your site and turn that DIY site into a professional looking, exceptional website. We'll see you in the next episode.